Greetings everyone. So this video is going to be about uncovering some of the secrets of the Tree of Life, and here's a little visual of essentially what I'm referring to, the Kabala Tree of Life, and how that knowledge, how this Tree of Life applies to our current situation that we are in as a society. It helps explain what is just going on in the world, uncovering these secrets and this knowledge from the Tree of Life that has been revealed to me explains like our timelines and just where we're at as a species in our timeline of evolvement, essentially, and the spiritual awakening and consciousness that is just showing up in the world, showing up within a lot of us. So yeah, essentially this video is about a lot of these messages that I have received and connecting the dots, really, just in a powerful, intricate way I never saw myself doing before. So yeah, before we dive right into the Tree of Life here and just essentially focusing on our current timeline and sort of recent past and kind of the progression where we're going and what that looks like, you know, giving us not a predictive quality, but just sort of a taste, you know, if you will, weather forecast, like a lot of psychic reading is. But yeah, that's essentially what this is. And I think it's going to be really affirming and validating, comforting for a lot of you to hear. I know it was for me when these messages came through and me connecting these dots. It just was a lot, it felt like a little bit of a weight lifted off my shoulders, really. Just kind of seeing where we are. And, you know, there's a lot of uncertainty and scary sort of timelines and potentials that are showing up in the world, you know, with the chaos and then this other era of love and positivity. It's just, this will give you, I feel like, a much clearer, intricate understanding just of kind of what's going on, how it all synchronizes together, how it all marries together. Okay, so hopefully I kind of explained that pretty well. But yeah, so like I said, so this is a very spontaneous video. I just want to say briefly, you know, this kind of connects to everything that I'm going to be talking about with uncovering some of the secrets with the Tree of Life and whatnot. But I just want to briefly kind of give you a little background on why I haven't been as active the last 2 years. And it's because probably why a lot of you have withdrawn and why a lot of you maybe are just seeing yourselves being a little more reclusive or whatever, you know, because you're changing internally. Some of you are changing physically as well. It all has to do with this changing of the ages, changing of the timelines, changing of, you know, our vibration, raising in vibration, raising in density, all these terms that all of us have been using. When I say all of us, I mean all of us psychics and spiritual leaders who've been talking about this. It is all one and the same. And my guides have been talking with me a lot about duality, polar opposites, and those unifying and merging. And that is the path that we're on, is unifying and merging polar opposites. And it has gotten so intricate and so detailed. I just, you'll see as we go into it. But again, this is all leading to kind of why I've disappeared for a couple of years and why I've needed a lot more time than I expected to sort of tend to myself, you know, do my healing evaluation, and also just I've been raising my frequency. I've been raising my vibration. I'm going to be psychic reading differently. For example, I'm going to be channeling more moving forward here, and That's where a lot of these messages with the tree of life and everything have come from, with our timelines and the Leo Aquarius age that we're in. All of it has been a lot of messages that I've just channeled. And that also ties into my recent telepathic experiences. Channeling and telepathy are very much the same thing, actually. They really are. So some of you who follow me on my website, thesilversphinx.com, saw my recent blog about my recent intense telepathic experiences. And so these are just some of the changes. I just kind of want you to know, and if you're wondering why I'm reading differently and what this change is that has come over me, because you'll see I'm vibrating differently. I'm just, the light that surrounds me is going to be different. The messages I'm channeling are going to be clearer. They're going to be more to the point. They're going to be inspiring at a different level. It just, like, literally the messages that have come through I've just surprised myself. I've kind of astounded myself with some of the knowledge that has come through. And it's been this combination of my higher self, it is my higher self connecting to that divine source within me. But it's also pulling those messages from my spirit guides, from those higher beings, some of you might call God. And again, that's kind of, see how we're coming back to polar opposites and opposites coming together, self, other, coming together, how it comes together. See, I'm probably gonna do that a lot through this video, making the connection between polar opposites, because that is essential right now, where we are as a species, where we are at in our evolvement collectively, not just as a society, not just as a state, not just as a country, but as a world, as unified people. And we could even get into the galactic side of it, which we're not going to focus on the galactic side of it and the cosmic connections so much in this video. I'll get into more of that moving forward, because I will be more active. I mean, like I said, the messages that have been pouring in, that I've been channeling, have been so strong, so powerful, so, like, I have to share them. I have to share this. So, anyways, if you haven't, go check out that blog on my telepathic experiences and how that relates to us as a whole, humanity, graduating with our communication, with our level of communication. Okay, and that's all I'm going to say about it. I want to go into it more because it's such a cool, fascinating thing. And anyways, read the blog. Let's get into the mysteries and secrets that I have discovered here with the Tree of Life that I was not able to see before. So, as it was pointed out to me from my spirit guides, we are basically sitting here where mercy is, right here. Okay? Mercy. Sorry, I just kind of have to look at it myself here. So this is basically where we are, and you see it is labeled as fourth density. So here is, you see and hear a lot of spiritual leaders and psychics in the community who are talking about this ascension to 4D, that can, and some refer to it as fourth density, some refer to it as the fourth dimension, yada yada. There are some people and psychics leaders who say that we're in the fifth density, or the fifth dimension. Well, here's the thing. We are actually basically in both. And yes, we have graduated, we're in that ascension process. It definitely heavily kicked off in 2020. Most of you just, this, you can feel this. You see the external experiences that are happening in the world, and this will help you make the connection more and more. So moving forward, you see how we have on the same colored line that the Tree of Life here depicts, which that's like a navy blue. You see how mercy is connected with severity over here? And that's the fifth, 5, 4, 4, 5. See? Fourth density, fifth density. See how they're connected? So yes, we may be living a little bit more here, like focused in the fourth, but we are also tied to the fifth. So that's why whenever you hear all these spiritual leaders and psychics talking about this is where we are, or if you hear them debating, no, we're in fourth density, no, we're in fifth density. Reality is we're in both. We are tied together. They are tied together, and this is one of the secrets. Whoops. This is one of the secrets that the Tree of Life conveyed to me and that became clear to me last night, really. A lot of these downloads of information and secrets unveiled here with the Tree of Life came through last night, which was, I'm not sure exactly when I'm posting this video, so that was July 29th or July 30th. No, it was July 30th. Anyways, just so you have a reference to linear time, our dates that we use. So, speaking of time, that is another big thing that I have been learning and that I'm sure many of you are getting acquainted with on your own sort of level. Time is not linear. We have professionals, metaphysics, all of this stuff that has been teaching us and showing this more and more, but it's becoming more obvious to the individual. It's becoming more obvious to me. And let me kind of give you an example. Hopefully this isn't too confusing. But so you see how numbers wise, we have sinking down, we have 6, 7, 8, you know. So if we're going by, ascension, you know, ascension means going 5, 6, 7. If that's how we're counting ascension, then okay, that's fine. Now, the representation that I'm getting of ascension, this is really hard for me to explain because it is different from the linear time frame that we've been programmed to believe. So we're going up, and it may not be depicted that way because most convey it is, oh, well, ascension is 5D, 6D, 7D, yada, yada. But, you know, if you're going up the pillar here to the crown, to source, as it is called on here, the void of limitless, all infinite light, the crown, also on the, in reference to the 22 pathways and 22 major arcana in the tarot, you know, this is the Fool, right? And it's returning to source, to light, to that etheric light, to your light body. So this is the ascension, but we see here that it's labeled, you know, a little differently, you know, as far as numbers go. It's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you know. So we have to remove that linear time thinking, whether you interpret ascension as 5, 6, 7, you know, and that's climbing up, or if you interpret it as more the visual, like this represents climbing up, but it goes 3, 2, 1. You see what I'm saying? Either way, however you interpret it, whichever side you've been listening to, and maybe you've incorporated both sides, but it is all one and the same. Is the point. It is all one and the same. You are reaching the same point. You see how the pillar of mildness is in the center, and the kingdom, or number 10, the 10th density as some would call it, is down here. And this represents, oh gosh, sorry, I gotta get to my tarot references here, represents the World card, as we see on the back here. And some believe, well, that is the highest point of ascension. And then others would debate, and like it's represented and shown on here, the Tree of Life, that the Fool, you know, 0, 1 up here is the highest ascension point. Both are correct. Both are one and the same. And so you see how this is kind of relating to duality and also breaking out of linear time thinking. I hope I'm explaining this pretty well. I think a lot of you will resonate with this, and thank God for the visual. But it's all one and the same. Okay, so now let's kind of rewind, come back a little bit. Okay, so if you look at where we are, Mercy, it is also labeled, the symbol of Jupiter is here. Okay, so we are in this space very much so, and especially astrologically, what's going on with Jupiter, and Jupiter recently going retrograde. Like, see all these connections? Okay, you see? We are at a crucial point in our involvement. You see, basically, we have come from here. We have basically come from here, and we are up to here. And see how the point that we're reaching next is, see, I'm kind of making that triangular point. The point that we are reaching next as a collective, the unified point, the trine, the unified point, you see what I'm doing? Is this right here. Notice how knowledge here on the tree of life, as it's labeled, knowledge, it is not your typical sphere. It's not filled in. It's kind of a void. It's not your typical sphere. It's not your typical sort of point. But this is sort of the unified point at which we meet, at which these polarities that we're trying to balance out meet. And also, you see, reason why we're at such a critical and expansive point in our evolution as the human race, we are sitting above, or we're sitting in between star energy here. You see, we're sitting in between the sun, which is golden, yellow, and then you see in this scenario, I'm interpreting this as the highest point. Okay, the highest point of ascension. Okay, the crown right here. But again, it's all one and the same, whether you think ascension is moving this way or this way. Anyways, but see how we're sort of sandwiched? This is where we're at, this line right here, sandwiched in between the two stars, the sun, gold, yellow, and then you hear a lot of people also talking about the indigo light that is coming through, the indigo children, the star seeds, all of it. And this all ties together. You see, we're that much closer to this type of frequency and star energy. Okay, so the most evolved and high frequency star out there, source light, are those stars and light sources, stars really, that are more white in color, that have more of that bluish white tint to it, or that even that indigo, sort of color. The more sort of translucent and crystalline is a good word, crystalline it is, the more sort of pure it is, the more unified and oneness and closer it is to spirit, to oneness, to source. You see? Okay, so we have risen from sort of this point where we are now able to sort of see and almost get our first taste of this infinite source, this new light energy. And so because we are rising above, this lower density, and this is how we are reading it right now, just so we have to read it still in a linear sort of fashion, linear time kind of fashion, in order for us to grasp a better understanding, of non-linear time. That makes sense. Anyways, the comparison is here, but also, anyways, I'm moving on. I sometimes get lost in this non-linear and linear talk and trying to process it, but you guys are smart. Anyways, so right here, you know, again, we're at this point, this line where we have risen above. We're not down here where it's just this light, this sort of starlight that we see and that we receive. It is now, you see the evolvement just that this is depicting. You see sort of this breakthrough point that we have crossed, this breakthrough of the veil, and you've heard that a lot since 2020 as well, I bet. You know, piercing the veil. We had all of those, oh gosh, what were they called? The random objects that appeared in 2020. I wrote about this too, I have a blog on it. Anyways, they represented portals, and whether you believe they were actual portals or just a representation, it's kind of all the same. It's all trying to tell you the same thing. Okay, we have lifted through, pierced through a veil here, and it's one of the biggest veils your soul, the soul on its journey goes through, is what I'm trying to say. It is one of the biggest points, biggest graduations, if you will, in your soul and conscious evolution, in your conscious evolution on your soul journey. We're at one of the biggest turning points, okay? And, okay, I think I'm at the point where I can make these other comparisons. So, before the Tree of Life, this is a little bit more intricate. Before this showed up, my spirit guides were giving me more of the visual of the chakra system, okay? So, and this is comparative really to the chakra system. And using the chakra system to show me where we are timeline-wise, and it all synchronizes. So, for example, most people agree we're basically fourth density. We're straddling fourth, fifth density, that we've come from third density. Like, that is the most, okay? So what is the third chakra? The solar plexus, yellow. The solar plexus, yellow, which is all about ego. It's still about survival-based living. It's about the physical, because that's what the three lower chakras all together represent, you know? So now we can at least all agree that we are fourth density and growing and reaching higher, okay? And that is, as far as the chakra system goes, comparatively speaking, it is the heart chakra, okay? And you hear a ton of references to this. And the heart chakra is green, okay? And it is the midpoint chakra. The heart chakra links together the three lower chakras and the three upper chakras, okay? And so you can basically, you would interpret this middle line as the heart chakra, is what I was shown by my guides, okay? This is the heart chakra, if you're comparing, okay? Knowledge, which is sort of this void point, as you see here, represents more of the throat chakra, okay? And then we get into third eye, and then we get into crown chakra, okay? So, sorry, I have to like sometimes bring myself back down to regain focus. There's just so much. You see, guys, there's so much to all this. There's so much depth. Anyways, so here's another fun little point, just to kind of prove where we are at on a timeline and to give you just another unified picture of where we are at. So when you think of the primary colors, right? Yellow, third density, where we've been, okay? And then what is in between that? The throat chakra, which is blue, okay? So blue and yellow. And then what happens when you mix those primary colors, blue and yellow? You get green. And what is in between those chakras? The heart chakra, which is represented by green. Okay, so you see all these synchronicities and how they're all, okay? So this is just more of an example of where we're at timeline-wise, but also the unification of everything. You know, there's this fear going on in the world that, well, we might sink back down to the lower density, which for now we're saying is down here, okay? We might sink back down to lower density, which means war, which means just anger and polarity, you know. And, you know, we're still seeing it play out, right? We still have the red side. We still have the blue side, right? We still have Republicans. We still have Democrats. We still have, you know, even when it comes to sex, you know, female and male. And there's still a lot of this black and white, yin and yang thinking. And we're just at that crucial point where it's becoming more unified. Okay, we're all going through this period and it's a little uncomfortable. And this is why telepathy also, telepathy is going to become our new form of communication. It's our evolved, just evolved way of communicating. You know, we've moved from body language to verbal to written to the TV and imagery. And, you know, the next stage, you know, we keep going up in our communication is telepathy, mind to mind. So, and that has to do with our collective consciousness and coming to a collective point, coming to a point of unity. And that is what is also opening us up to more of these psychic abilities, like I said, like telepathy. It's so exciting. I'm starting to get goosebumps. But, hey, okay, sorry for that little blip, that little pause. I'm back, had to recenter. Okay, so let's kind of slightly rewind maybe here a little bit. So, you know, talking about fourth density and relating it to the chakra system now, how this synchronizes with the chakra system and the dimension we're entering, you know, the breakthrough points we're going through, yada yada. Reason why I can back that up and sort of validate that is, so looking at the other side here, what tarot card do we have associated with this timeline? Fourth density, fifth density, strength. The strength tarot card. So let's look at the strength tarot card here. So Leo energy. And so I'm one of those psychics and astrologers who believes that we are in, every time you're in a new astrological age, it involves the polar opposite. So yes, we're in the Aquarius age, but what's the polar opposite of Aquarius? Leo. So we are really in the Leo Aquarius age, southern northern hemisphere. And again, it all comes back to polar opposites or duality, yin yang. Anyway, we're gonna break this down a little bit even more. So, I mean, this can also give you a little bit more insight, of course, with what this new age or density here looks like. And what is Leo energy? You know, it is that individuality. It is ego, but not toxic ego. It's the higher form of ego, okay? Self-love, you know, self-respect, self-boundaries, you know, the integration of self with other, and who rules other, you know, consciousness, humanity as a whole, society. Well, it is Aquarius. It is the star card. Now, why do I have the star card showing up here? Well, I just this came to me, you know, in the messages that were being downloaded to me and what I was being shown with the Tree of Life is You know, the star card, of course, is shown down here. Hopefully that's not too blurry, but it's shown down here. Now, what is the number of the star card? It is number 17. What does 17 reduce to? It reduces to 8. 17 reduces to 8. So if we're going by numerology and using the system of numerology, which is incorporated in the tarot and the tree of life here, these energies are one and the same. We are in the Leo Aquarius age. And if you want, again, more insight, you know, this is why astrologers, you know, making the comparison to astrology, where we're at, you know, giving you a clearer picture of what this future, what this new fourth density, fifth density, new dimension, whatever you want to call it, Leo Aquarius age, it's all one and the same, but this is what it looks like. Okay? And so with this energy, you can see not only some of, I'm just, you know, getting into some of the predictive qualities with this energy, you know, making bigger leaps into space. You know, this is space technology. This is connecting also with our cosmic roots. This is why you're hearing and seeing more people, whether they're psychic or not psychic, you know, however they identify, whatever their field of study is, you know, you're seeing more people come forward saying, oh, I have these past life memories on other planets. You know, oh, shoot, I'm from the Pleiadian system. Oh, shoot, you know, I have this memory and whatnot from Lyra. And of course, y'all, some of you who've followed me on my website, you've read, I wrote this like a year, 2 years ago, whatever, but, you know, connecting to making the connection to my star roots and my cosmic family. So this is very much represented with the star card. You know, where have we come from as a species, as a collective, you know? Scientists have proven that a lot of our DNA is not of this earth, you know, and stuff like that. And there has not been enough disclosure of information on this topic, and of course also space and what really has happened or been seen on the moon, on Mars, you know, all this other stuff. A lot of that knowledge has been withheld, but this is that coming to light. And Leo energy, I mean, first of all, Leo and Aquarius energy are very unique in the sense that they both rule or are ruled by a light source, you know, at least depicted here in the tarot, star energy. You know, it's not just planetary or, yeah, it's not just planetary like a lot of the other signs. It's star energy. Leo energy is the sun. You see, so this is one of the big sort of things and leaps that we're making with this dimension. And going back here, you know, what I was talking about with being in between star energy, what did we just talk about? And what that kind of looks like. And yes, this is connecting more to your psychic superpowers. A lot of you are awakening to this. And like I've talked about in this video already, like my telepathic abilities being activated. You know, I'm not full on telepathic yet, thank God, because that would be overwhelming. But you see where this timeline that we're in, this new age that we're in, is leading. These are some of the things it's leading to, and you already see that. It's coming out in the news, you know, you see that space travel is becoming more of a thing. You see that UFO disclosure, you know, and yeah, just UFO or UAP disclosure is becoming more of a thing. We're still having to fight to get that disclosure because they keep, you know, anyways, slightly different subject. I'm not going to get too much into that, but you see those happening in the world already. So like, do you need more valid points? But I'm just trying to help you, and it certainly helped me connect the dots here and to show you where we are, you know, with our evolution, and that it's not just like a scary thing or chaotic thing, but it's also not going to be all positive, and that's okay. So here we are back to duality, okay, dark and light, you know, the lightness of situations, the darkness of situations, your inner light, your inner darkness. You have to understand, and a lot of religions, especially Christianity, but you know, just organized religion in general, has taught us one side. You know, it's taught us, oh, you can only integrate your light side. Or there's some that are like, you can only integrate your dark side. You know, that's the only place you should operate from. That's the only point from which you should live in. No, no. We are light and we are dark. We are dark and we are light. And we have to come to that integrative point. But this is also the age or the density that we're now in, where you're going to see a lot more, like, for example, with politics and politicians, you're going to see a lot more agreeances. You're going to see them reaching resolutions and reaching a midpoint, reaching that compromise a lot easier, because this is the new energy that we are operating in. So now we're at that rigid point, which we've experienced and we're still kind of seeing, where we're resisting. And that's why we're at this chaotic, rigid point where we're seeing what we're seeing in the world, is because of resistance. Okay, we're sort of resisting this new integrative, unified energy that is coming through, because it's different. It's different. It's completely different from how we've been operating. We've been operating with a duality, you know? Oh, well, he's black. Oh, he's white. Oh, you know, she's female. He's male. Oh, they're Democrat. Oh, they're Republican. You see what I'm saying? And the system that we've been living in has reinforced that kind of thinking and teaching. And that is breaking down. That is part of the big collapse and then rebuilding. Rebuilding meaning understanding our connection to source, to oneness, where we meet. So, there's just so much, guys, like trying to keep up with this, like in a logical sort of fashion. Hopefully I'm doing okay, but you can let me know. So, all right, we've made some comparisons here. Oh, here's just it's a little something that I just thought was cool too, you know, just to throw it in with all the other synchronicities and everything here. So with the Strength card, the Leo card here, first of all, you know, don't forget this is very love-centered, you know, heart chakra, hello. And look at the attention she's giving this lion. So also, to me, this kind of depicts that telepathic communication as well, does it not? There's an understanding, a beautiful understanding between a humanoid form and an animal, you know? Wild beast that is supposed to want to kill her and stuff, you know, or vice versa, you know, that fear. So this is a big part of the New Age too, right? We're breaking out of fear and our dependency on fear. We've been so programmed with fear and retreating to fear-based thinking that it's become like a drug. And we're having to wean ourselves off that fear drug. She does not fear. Even making the cosmic connections. Does not fear. As above, so below is a principle reflected here. And what were we talking about also with this again? As above, so below, as above. Do you see all the synchronicities and things that are matching up here? Ooh! Hello. Okay, so, sorry. Actually, the thing that I wanted to show you. So the infinite or infinity sign here. First of all, what did we talk about? Like returning to source and this being the highest point of ascension and yada yada. It's 0. It's represented by a circle. 0, yes. And that we established that we are, let me go back to here. On this timeline, strength, which is 8. It's the number 8 in the tarot card. Okay, so in the infinity sign is basically an 8, right? Okay. And then what is an infinity sign broken down? It's 2 circles. And if you combine these two, what is it? It's just basically 1 circle. So getting back to oneness, getting back to that light, getting back to that unified field and unified thinking, collective consciousness. Do you see? Do you see? Okay, so, whew. Honestly, I think I have basically conveyed all the intricacies of the messages that were channeled to me. So now I kind of want to get into pulling a card or two and just kind of see where else this takes us. But I'm going to continue here as I shuffle and pull a card or two. I'm going to continue looking at this tree of life and see what else it might want me to share with you guys, what I might be missing, because like I said, it's so much information downloaded. I'm just so tuned in. And I want to hear about you guys. Like, how is y'all's ascension going? I know a lot of you, it's called the Great Awakening, the Great Ascension. We're breaking illusions. Henceforth awakening. What is sort of clicking and falling into place with you? And are you feeling more of that connection to all things and all beings and the earth? Are you feeling that? And what does that look like for you? I want to see. So this is the Galactic Heritage deck. Her name is, who did this? Lisa Holt something. Lisa something. Anyways, I'll put it in the descriptions box, but you'll probably see me using this and incorporating this more moving forward, especially when it comes to connecting to making those cosmic connections and connecting to your star family. But yeah. The age of knowledge, they've been calling this the age of knowledge, haven't they? It's because we're on our way to reaching this midpoint, right? The age of information is actually more the term they've used, but it's kind of the same thing. Age of information, age of knowledge, with the big boom with the internet and how the internet is expanding now. But yeah. And we do have sort of the darker timeline of severity and the lighter timeline of mercy. And this is where we have to find this meeting point. The darker timeline has to do with like the artificial intelligence technology taking over and us not being spiritually aware and evolved enough, mature enough to incorporate the AI. Okay, and so then the AI is sort of taking over, dominating, or whoever is in control of the AI using it for more negative purposes. That is the darker sort of timeline. But then there's the lighter timeline, right? Where we use a lot of like the gifts and things that we want to use AI, artificial intelligence, for, we start to learn how to use or connect with those abilities on our own, biologically. So I'm just kind of giving you, I guess it's a narrow example, but getting back to the telepathic thing. So you know how Elon Musk has, or is working on that computer chip, or, you know, whatever chip that he wants to implant in people's heads, basically. I mean, not forced, but he sees it as a way of connecting with the AI, and that being a safer way to interact with, you know, our new technology and artificial intelligence, and that way we're somewhat unified with it, and there's more coherency. But he wants to do like that implant, you know, that, so having to rely on an outside sort of thing to connect you with the advances, technological advances and stuff that are happening. Well, that might be a good thing, but it could also go wrong, right? So the lighter side to this might be, well, you learning. So what would the brain chip in this example do? Well, it would give you telepathic abilities. Okay, let's just say that's what it would do. It would connect you to the grid. It would connect you, you know, you could send emails and texts and images with your head because you got a chip in your head. You see what I'm saying? But biologically, like me and some other people are figuring out, they're awakening to their telepathic abilities naturally, organically, biologically. And it's like the same thing, right? But it's operating the same thing differently. So this, you know, it's just another kind of timeline example, basically, of what could happen, where we, you know, and finding the integration of that. You know, and this is one reason why many have said Atlantis and the, you know, the, just the people of Atlantis, why they fell, is because they did not get to that integration point where they married the yin and yang, the dark and light, the duality. Okay, and many would say that what they struggled with the most was actually they were technologically advancing too much, too fast, and they didn't spiritually, internally advance, you know, to match that technological advancement. So, you know, that's, I almost intuitively feel like, and from what a lot of, you know, the other information I've received, I feel like that's very, very similar to where humanity is at right now as well. I feel like this is one. So we have a message from the Pleiades coming through here. Devotion to service. And look, it's coming from the present as well. It's such an interesting deck. Not my typical deck that I would use, but I'm really enjoying it. I hope you guys enjoy it too moving forward. Pleiades. Devotion to service. I feel like there's this message here too. I think I'm going to get one more from this deck. There's this message with devotion to service is focus on your purpose, is what that is also saying, really. Don't be so distracted by all the external things and what's going on in the world and the fear and chaos. Focus on your purpose and devotion to self, you know, service to self as well, you know, because that is what is going to bring you greater awakening. You know, you got to take care of the self before you can really start sharing and taking better care of the collective, right? We all know that. That's a pretty common lesson in life. I feel like this devotion to service from the Pleiades is saying too that a lot of us, a lot of you watching, you're doing the right things. You're on the right path. Your devotion to yourself, where you're at right now in the present, wherever your devotion and focus is, that's exactly where you need to be. You're doing really well. You're on the path to awakening, and you're on that evolution, that journey of evolution. You are. I'm really happy to see Lyra come through here because I most associate with Lyra, having such profound connections in past lives within the Lyra constellation. But yeah, this is beautiful. Protectiveness and also showing up presently here. I love that. You are protected. So a lot of people need to hear this. Like I've needed to hear this. Like it's even just a little scary and intimidating sharing this stuff with you guys. It's just, I mean, this kind of knowledge and this kind of depth is still not really accepted and understood very much in the general society, with general society. So what I'm saying is, you know, it's I mean, obviously it's speaking to me, but I know it's speaking to a lot of you. You don't have to be scared that something bad is going to happen, you know, to you. If you're feeling just those nudges of awakening, if you're having those supernatural experiences or, you know, telepathic experiences, and it's scaring you and you're starting to wonder if you're a little crazy or if like someone's going to somehow take advantage of you or lock you up, you know, for just operating differently, for seeing things differently, for seeing the world differently, because all of our eyes are being opened and we're going to see the world differently. And that is going to scare you and think that you might get in trouble for that. Like you might get in trouble. You might be punished for seeing the world differently. Your eyes have been opened. You know, you're seeing things more clearly, more intricately now, like we've discussed. This whole video has been about intricacy, right? And making this synchronistic connections. You don't have to be afraid. You are protected, is what the Lyrans are communicating here. And I love this so much too, because also you have the yellow color coming out, and Lyrans are most associated with cats, okay, the feline being, because that is the type of extraterrestrial being as far as physical being. A lot of like those feline type extraterrestrial beings, it is agreed upon, come from Lyra. And then also, you know, going back to the Leo age, what is Leo represented by? The lion, feline, and also yellow, the sun. You see all these connections? You see how it's all coming together. And also, there's a message coming through here for those of you watching. These energies, most all of us have Pleiadian and Lyra DNA connections. We do. Most of us have connections to both of those star systems. Some of us, you know, we have more focus in one, sure, you know, than the other, but essentially most of us have. So connect to these energies. You know, there, some of you, this is, if you're wondering where do you start with your cosmic connections, Pleiades and Lyra are definitely great starting points. And that's a rabbit hole that you could go down for a while. So, I intend to help you guys down that rabbit hole because I've been awakening to this stuff, obviously. And this is part of my purpose now with how I'm going to be sharing and presenting psychic readings, intuitive readings, is it's going to be more past life connections and spiritual growth, and just all centered on this awakening and evolution that we're going through collectively as a species. I thought about drawing some cards from the tarot, but I'm not. I'm going to leave it with just those. The most important thing for us right now, lesson, is to reach that integration point, understanding that it doesn't have to be duality, you know, that it doesn't have to be one way or the other way, you know. It doesn't have to be like that. I mean, when you really start breaking it down and you think how your psychology operates, how you've been programmed, how we collectively as a society have been programmed to operate, it has been in a dualistic fashion, which also can break down to competition, which has been very toxic in the long run. It doesn't suit our vibration anymore, and people and businesses are finding that out. That's one reason why businesses are crashing and having a hard time finding employees and stuff right now, right? Because that mentality of competition, and of course that egoic quality that has been devaluing its workers, and that inequality of value and offering livable wages and value. So you see, we have to come to that point of integration. In a nutshell, that is our biggest sort of learning right now. And that reaching that point, compromise, integration, understanding that the dark and the light are both components that we need and that are within us and that make a whole. Reaching that mindset and understanding, not just with your mind, but intuitively with your heart, right? We are in that heart-centered age. Okay, heart intelligence with brain intelligence. Check out Joe Dispenza's work. Okay, just gonna throw that out there. Heart, brain intelligence, heart and brain intelligence. Okay, unify, integration point. That is the key for us collectively breaking through. And I mean, like, our society, guys, is just, it's already changing so much, but it's just not going to look the same. Like, I'm already seeing it differently myself, because my eyes have been opened to a lot of this, and some of it is hard to convey. I'm hoping with the Tree of Life, some of the dots that I've connected for you guys here, and how it connects to astrology, how it connects to the chakra system, how it connects to the tarot, all of it. I'm hoping that these pathways and density dimensional points give you a picture of the timeline, just where we are, how our sense of time has been operating, how it is growing and evolving and changing, you know, breaking out of linear time again, non-linear. I mean, you notice how on the Tree of Life, all of these points are circular. That is really basically a symbol talking about time, how time operates. Okay, it's not just linear, like pillar-wise. These pillars are for us and this linear thinking, just so we can understand this, if that makes sense. I think that's basically all the messages that are coming through for this video. And I hope that these secrets, mysteries that the Tree of Life has revealed to me and now is revealed to you resonate, and it helps start to click with your life and what you see happening in the world. And I hope it gives you some comfort too about, you know, just where we are, where we're headed. You know, it's not always going to be like this. It's not always going to be so heavy and chaotic and traumatic. We could get into a lot more of that too, but I'm not going to in this video. I think I'm really going to stop now. A lot of awesome messages came through here and things that I wanted to share with you guys. So leave a comment below, share your thoughts, your experiences, what is going on with you right now. And yeah, I wish you all love and just light. Take advantage, especially in Leo season here, where the sun is exalted and in its light. The light codes, the codes that are coming down from the sun, from sunlight, so powerful, and is just another part of our awakening right now. I mean, you've heard and probably seen the stories in scientific journals and right now about how the sun is awakened and it's in that period, you know, it's shooting off more solar flares, more of that light energy is piercing through and hitting us. You know, go outside, soak in that light, because that also will start raising your own vibration, awareness, knowledge, helping you feel closer to oneness, that collective, unified point, you know, that heart center. Okay, I think now that's the last piece of advice and wisdom that is coming through that I'm going to give you. Okay, so much love to you all, guys, and I'm sure I will talk to you soon. Leave your comments and whatnot below. Check out my website for a little bit more information in depth if you want, you know, on similar topics that I've brought up in this video. You can find those in the blogs on my website. Again, down below in the descriptions box, thesilversphinx.com. All right, talk to you soon. Bye for now.